All right, one more time.
Hopefully it works.
Spine, sacrum, sacrolumbar junction, sacrum, all the way down to here, sacroiliac joint here, ilium, transverse processes of the lumbar spine, quadratus lumborum, and then the bottom of the rib cage. Erectors, man, that's feeling good.
Yeah,
It's like completely better.
Yeah, it's
Which is awesome.
There's still some ropiness in
Yeah.
there, like right where you are.
Right.
But it's
This
way
lower
better.
portion. So Tim's
Yeah.
pattern has always kind of, like been here and down. We've been working in the past weeks, like in the upper portion, how it's been affecting his shoulder, clavicle, rib cage, sternum, rhomboids.
Oh my god. Oh my god.
Excuse me. And now we've got this like sacrum, ilium kind of juncture here with all the glute attachments coming down into like the ischial tuberosity down here. Funny little spot with just tissue right there. And then to the back of the femur right here. Okay, and then the back of the femur kind of comes up. You're going to start to feel the ilium. So this is kind of like the juncture of the femur to the ilium, and then you can feel that way deep in there. That's like gemellus superior or something like that. One of these like deep external rotators. Above that is piriformis, and that juncture between the, so the acetabulum is deep here, ilium here, greater trochanter way out here. You've got piriformis belly that we're compressing against the ilium here.
And it feels like sort of
Glute
against
max
the femur. Oh.
way in there. Doing the press for friction. And in that iliac fossa, for lack, I don't know if that's the exact terminology, but whatever. Compressing glute med against that iliac fossa, lower portion of glute med, kind of following that belly of the tissue all the way up into glute min right here. We're at top of the ilium is like here, so that belly is like just an inch or so beneath there, pressing against that iliac fossa there, and then we're getting into like the deep kind of joint capsule IT band.
Is that above the joint capsule?
The joint capsule is deep in this area, so you could be addressing joint capsule, here.
Or further up?
Yeah, and this is kind of like when I say joint capsule of the hip, I'm generally aiming at this spot.
Okay.
And I'm using my knuckle.
Oh.
We're doing crossfiber friction, and we're trying to probe into the belly. So many different therapies at once. You can take the butt of your palm and use your body weight to compress down into that like sacroiliac, and then do some just like mobilization. It looks like crossfiber friction, which it is on the multifidus right there, but really it's kind of like I'm supporting.
Yeah, you're more on bone than muscle.
Yeah, like mobilizing that like sacroiliac joint right there. That ties in directly to this lumbar spot. Great. Ooh, hello. So kind of contact points, knuckle, thumbs, 2 knuckles, 1 knuckle with body weight.
Oh my god.
Again, we're kind of just like always testing where the beginning and the end, so the fiber's kind of coming here. You need to know where the fiber is going to be at, and then where it begins and where it ends, and then you can kind of compress into the belly. So we never just want to aim at one portion of the muscular tissue. we want to like be understanding where the entire thing is at in its anatomical location. And then we can compress it against bony landmarks. And we're really crushing that QL right now. So Tim's whole pattern used to be very much like his glute would totally guard anytime we came down and compressed, but now that this all is starting to open up,
And it still does it some.
a little bit, but hardly anything, you know, I can compress all the way down into these bony landmarks through the tissue, you know.
Glute med seems to guard more than
Yeah, so now, and I definitely think you're right about that, like glute min, and then this like IT band thing right here. You know, ooh. Okay, so deep compression with friction, aiming at the belly, compressing against the bony landmark. You know, and we could be doing, you know, we're trying to add motion in, so we're just checking that internal rotation of the femur. Just kind of letting all that therapy rest in, or kind of like be utilized or integrated into the tissue changes that we've been making. You're probably feeling that in the
feels
front
good.
there.
Oh.
You know, and then you can do external rotation with some compression on the head of the femur here, posterior aspect of the head of the femur. Then, I mean, you're really able to feel well the like piriformis and glute max in this position, kind of letting the leg be relaxed. And then I'm not hardly using any downward pressure. I'm just kind of trying to isolate that tissue and do some friction down up against the posterior aspect of the femoral head. So I kind of disengaged all the way here. He's all the way engaged. When I compress, you know, I can kind of get this thing going on here, letting his leg kind of press into my hand. And then as soon as we really get into it, you can start to see where he's still guarding. Tim was telling me before we played the video, you were right, by the way, about the restarting my phone. Yeah.
Right on.
Tim was telling me that he's having some unique new symptoms on the like inner part of his leg here, and you said like on the opposite,
On the outside.
on the opposite like IT band joint capsule spot here on the right side.
Yep.
So that's kind of new information. We're glad to be hearing that from him.
Yeah, it's weird.
We're seeing all kinds of like structural and functional changes.
Oh yeah.
And each time we make an impact on the body, it's going to send a shock wave or like a ripple effect through the body, that each thing that's connected to these deep intrinsic points of compensation, right? That this is where all the compensation was at. And now that it's changing, it's causing this new effect all the way throughout the whole body. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Kind of?
Yeah, I think that makes sense.
Yeah, you know, so we're constantly affecting crucial areas of a pattern of compensation that has been developing before care started, and we're actually creating a new pattern, a pattern of what I call a pattern of integrity. Eliminating these imbalances and compensations, injuries is going to move the body just naturally back towards balance, proper function, and tissue health. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So again, we've kind of done 4 or 5 repetitions here, and still a little bit of guarding. You can definitely isolate bigger chunks of tissue, getting that big crossfire friction into the belly there. Pretty good stuff.
I like can't even feel the guarding that's happening. Oh,
Yeah.
no, I can't.
See, when you really get pinpoint specific about where not quite there yet, but this is leagues better than, I mean, this is really great, deep, specific crossfire friction on glute max and piriformis. Go ahead and lay on this side, please.
This side down.
Correct.
Oh man, that last one was painful.
Yeah. And let's reposition here. something like that. Okay, so just different angles, there's different tensions on the tissues because of his position. A lot of the stuff that we just were addressing is disengaged. We're seeing that same spot.
Oh my God.
Yep. Really deep stuff. And he jumped around, you know what I mean? But we're really like, that was actually like penetrating into
You were right on top of it.
Exactly, yep. Right in the middle of that deep thing that's been kind of so evasive because of that guarding. That's what the guarding is protecting, is this little tiny spot. I'm not sure what exactly it is, if it's
my piriformis. Oh my God.
piriformis, glute max, something like that.
Based on what I can feel, it feels like it's small, and it feels like it's the piriformis.
Yeah, I think the glute max is still such a elusive tissue for me, at least, like palpating. So we're kind of just doing some, gentle loosening along the TFL here. We haven't really done a ton of work here.
Recently, anyways.
Yeah. You can start to we're feeling for where the tissues are at, what kind of anomalies are in there, and we're just using the techniques that we have to address the anomalies to make it easier to get into, as tissues open up, it's easier to address, all these landmarks and bellies and stuff like that, the belly of the tissue. So I'm just gonna take Tim's leg here. I'm compressing, hardly even compressing. I'm just placing my elbow right above the greater trochanter in the space where the IT band and that joint capsule are.
I'm trying to relax my legs already.
Yeah, so you can bounce the leg and just kind of compress. You're lifting into your elbow. Okay. Nice compression there. 3, 2. So now we're really right in that joint capsule all the way through. And we're just really seeing how all this stuff is not just, they're not just isolated things, they're part of the regional or even systemic pattern of compensation manifesting in this area. You know what I mean? So it's all connected, literally.
Yeah, it's a lot of tissue.
Yeah, so this one is like, in a lot of this compensation, his pelvis probably has been turning and tilting and twisting and all kinds of weird permutations of positional distortion. Getting into the hip flexor,
it's like that weird tickling
way
sensation.
over there, quadricep attachment, or like the beginning of the quadricep bellies here. So like when it's twisting and turning like that, one side's going to be really strong, or this is a common pattern, is one side's really strong and then the other side's weak.
Yeah. Do you mean left or right or front and back?
Left and right.
Okay.
Both, actually.
Okay.
Yeah, the pelvis is so complex and weird, but really, like, all we're doing is just going around, looking at the structures and tissues, looking for restriction, imbalance, patterns of compensation, and then these, tissue anomalies or whatever. So the more we open this up, his pelvis is gonna like kind of just naturally start to square up a little bit, and he just before we said earlier, he's starting to have symptoms in a new area on the inner part of his leg and then on the opposite side. So that's when people say that, I'm always like, yay,
cool. All
like,
right.
awesome. So, all right. And these joint structures and tissues, again, this is a common thing that we've talked about. They're intrinsically connected. So if the joint isn't moving very well, this tissue is going to kind of be stuck with it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So we want to be able to see the joint play articulation, and then range of motion all kind of like go back to normal. But that's the restriction that we're seeing is that.
That's my TFL, right?
Nope, that's your IT band.
Really?
The joint capsule, yeah.
I feel like it's on the front.
Nope.
Oh my god, it's hard to tell where stuff is.
Okay, I gotcha. 3, 2.
We're good.
So I'm really getting a lot of force in there, you know, using my arm to lift his leg up as I'm compressing down into that spot. And again, you might be frustrated, like, why am I not seeing change? The body takes forever.
And I mean, you'll notice change. It just changes backward.
Well, yeah, it's like a really slow process. You'll see kind of like ups and downs and all kinds of weird little shifting. You know what I mean? But like if you can just like the more frequently you're addressing issues, if you can kind of go back to day one, like what you were like to day one, you'll get a picture of like how the body changes. Yeah. Right. You've been seeing me for 3+ years. Yeah. You know what I mean? And so, but it's all about consistency, comprehensivity, and specificity. Yeah. Specificity, comprehensivity, and consistency.
And it's important to note that I have not been entirely consistent throughout those 3 years.
Yeah, but you took a couple month chunk off, 4 months, 5 months, or whatever. But in the like bigger picture, you have been. Yeah. You know what I mean? Yeah. So.
And it almost seemed like taking a break helped.
Yeah, let everything settle down a little bit. Yeah. Kind of like settle in almost.
Change, get used to the new patterns.
Exactly. Your brain and your body are totally going to be, you know what I mean? Yeah. So, all right. Bye.